The records under Court Street. I, the map drawer. Veronica Caldwell. Vera, to anyone who knew her before the county health fair incident, returned to Montrose because the Susquehanna County Courthouse posted a 6-month contract, digitize historical civic materials. The pay beat substitute teaching, and the listing promised climate control, which in a Pennsylvania February sounded like grace. She signed the papers in an office where the copier had opinions, and the window watched Court Street like a witness. Walter Dunn from the county handed her a badge and a key ring that exaggerated the size of his hand. "You're in the map room," he said. "Basement level. Boxes have labels. Mostly." He smiled the way men smile when they want you to mistake habit for kindness. "Oh, and after 7, the elevator's fussy. Take the stairs." The map room smelled like paper that had made decisions. Flat files lined the walls like sleeping beasts, and a freestanding rack sagged under rolled maps secured by twine and optimism. A decommissioned microfilm reader sat in the corner like a retired oracle. Vera opened the first drawer and found Sanborn fire insurance maps, brick-shaded pink, frame-shaded yellow, notes about boiler rooms and hydrants in a penmanship that could pass for virtue. Halfway down the second drawer, she found an envelope labeled Red Do Not Post. Inside, overlays in red grease pencil showing blocks of town marked Loan Risk and Caution Zone. Between them, neat circles with X's through them where houses were once condemned for flood control. She recognized 3 names on the circles: families who had moved out of county, a woman who now worked nights at the Dollar Zone, and never took her break. Vera took a photo. She emailed it to her personal account out of a reflex the county had taught her. Evidence belongs in more than one place. At 7:03 p.m. The first night, the lights in the basement flickered, not out but thinner, as if someone had turned down the presence knob. Vera ignored the elevator and took the stairs. Half a flight down, she heard a sound she once would have called a bell. It came from behind a metal door stamped "Records Sealed." The sound rang again, 3 delicate pings, as if a teaspoon had knocked the inside of a glass. 2. The drawer. That wasn't on the plan. The door opened when she tried it. The room beyond was low-ceilinged, with wire shelves and banker's boxes gone the color of tea. A freestanding switchboard, a smaller version of the hospital kind she'd seen in old movies, sat against the far wall. Dark. A wooden card catalog stood beside it, drawers labeled in pencil with years. Above it, a paper sign in a steady hand, Night Register, JUV. Vera pulled the first drawer. Cards, each dated, each with 2 lines, time in, time out. Many had a blank where a name should have been. A stencil stamp across the bottom of the drawer read, Pastoral ADJC Pike. She knew the name. Everyone in the county did. Nolan Pike, Board of Commissioners Chair, Worship Committee co-lead, a man who treated public comment like weather. The card on top was dated October 12, 1989. Time in 9:07 p.m. Time out. A second line in different pen. Moved to St. Matthews, advised quiet. Someone had underlined quiet twice. Vera put the card back. The switchboard, which had looked like furniture, woke one small amber bulb winking on, then another. A soft voice threaded the room. "Operator?" "This is the courthouse," Vera said before she could stop. "What do you need?" "I'm supposed to sign the book," the voice said. "They told me it's charity if nobody writes it down." The voice wavered, steadied. "Can you write it down?" Vera pulled a legal pad from her tote and wrote, October 12th, 1989. Person not allowed a name. Said, "It's charity if nobody writes it down." She put her palm flat on the paper to make it real. "I'm writing," she said. The bulbs dimmed like relief. 3 Court Street. Montrose pretends nothing happens after 5. At Dolly's renamed SAL's Diner years ago and ignored the pie case kept turning like a stubborn planet. Ruth Connolly, who taught English at the high school until the budget turned arts integration into a kind of obituary, stirred sugar into her coffee the way you stir a complicated question. "My mother kept the night register at St. Bartholomew's," she said when Vera described the bulbs. "She said after 7 the line went down and the truth came up." "What was in the book at the courthouse?" "Kids," Ruth said, short as a prayer. "Girls told to wait. Boys told to be good, women told to be grateful, men told to speak for God." She stared at Vera's notebook like it might grow legs. "Wear comfortable shoes." The next morning, Walter stopped by the map room with a box of pastries meant to be a distraction. "The commissioners loved your enthusiasm about the red overlays," he said brightly. "Let's focus on the posted collection, though. The internet gets dramatic." "Dramatic?" "People like stories," he said. "We prefer facts." "I'm scanning facts," she said. "They tell stories." Iful. The Pact. The second night, the switchboard rang at 7:12. A man's voice, polite as a locked door, asked to be connected to the pastor in charge of exceptions. Another voice said she had been told quiet is charity. A third said she had tried to leave at 10:40, and the woman at the desk had smiled with sad teeth and said the bus didn't stop there after 11. Vera wrote each call on her legal pad and photographed the page. She tucked copies into folders and hid one in the Sanborn maps under Fragile. On the third night, the bulbs lit before she touched the receiver. "Operator," a girl whispered, as if afraid her voice could set off alarms. "I'm on Court Street. The window is open." "Which window?" "I don't know the number," she said, fast now, breath catching. "The one that looks at the bell tower. They said to wait until the shadow moved. It moved. Am I allowed to say my name?" "You are," Vera said, and felt her own voice strengthen. "Say it." The girl said her name. Vera wrote it down, and then, because the county had taught her how to hide things in daylight, she texted it to Ruth with a single word. Present. V. The meeting. Walter called her upstairs. The commissioner's room had carpet meant for bigger shoes. Pike smiled with all the wattage of his campaign photo. "We've received inquiries about unarchived materials," he said. "Our county prides itself on reconciliation." He folded his hands. "We'd appreciate your discretion." "About the red maps?" His smile stayed, but his eyes picked up a wrench. "About discouraging rumors. About not elevating pain that's been prayed over." "Pain that's been prayed over still exists," Vera said. "It's just better dressed." Pike stood, which in such rooms is a tactic. "After 7, he said. "The courthouse is closed. Please behave accordingly." 6. The drawer opens. Vera went back to the basement and pulled the drawer marked 1977. Half the cards were empty of names. Across 3 months, move to St. Matthew's appeared like punctuation. In the margin of one, a pencil note. Lights flickered during baptism. Told not to look up. She copied the cards, scanned them, emailed them to a reporter in Harrisburg Ruth swore wasn't an idiot, and hid a second copy under a loose floor tile by the microfilm reader. The board rang. "Operator?" a voice asked, older now, careful. "I worked nights. I stamped the cards. I was told to call it pastoral. I don't sleep much." "What do you need?" Vera asked. "To say I was there," the voice said. "To say we didn't count the way we should have. I keep thinking the whistle asked a question and we answered with a hymn." Vera wrote, "Night clerk regret is a ledger." She did not cry. The room would have kept those tears. 7 Court Street, again. The courthouse sits above town like a chaperone. On Saturdays, the farmers' market set up beside it, and people traded money for vegetables and gossip for absolution. That week, women began arriving with keys on lanyards, the kind you use for classrooms and lives. They stood by the pie truck and shook them once, lightly, like a test of sound. Men looked up, annoyed mostly because they'd been interrupted in the middle of being confident. Ruth pinned a flyer to the community board. After 7, we keep counting. Walter sighed in a way that included his better self. Pike sent a letter to the editor about unity. The paper ran it above a photo of the courthouse at dusk. In the background, if you knew where to look, you could see a basement light where no one had paid the bill. Château. The line. The calls changed. "Operator," a boy said, brave and terrified the way boys are when they sit in the back pew. I didn't push her. "Operator," a woman said, "I was told to be quiet at the hospital when I named a name." "Operator," an elder said, "I want to give a statement, but not to the pastor. Is there a way?" Vera wrote and wrote, the pad a second heart in her lap. The bulb above line 4 glowed without blinking. Vera touched the cord. A dial tone rolled low like a river. She heard chairs, a meeting, the sound of papers being set down as if they mattered. "Ms. Caldwell," Pike said, nearer than he had the right to be, "please stop encouraging theatrics. We have a process." "We've seen your process," she said. "It leaves blanks." She looked at the card from 1989 time in with no out and let her voice take the shape of work. "We're filling them." The act. The sheriff's deputy appeared after dark with a kindly face and an envelope. "Cease and desist," he said, embarrassed. "From answering phones?" He handed her a second envelope addressed to operator. It wasn't mail. It was a threat written by someone who liked law enough to misuse it. Ruth stood in the doorway behind Vera with her denim jacket and said, "We're not closed." The deputy rubbed the back of his neck. "Just be careful," he said. "I got daughters." That night, Vera propped the basement door open and turned off half the lights so the room could see itself. She called the reporter in Harrisburg and read her the cards. She called a lawyer in Carlisle whose aunt, according to Ruth, knew where the county kept its conscience. She taped the red overlays to poster board and pinned them to the cork wall outside the commissioner's chamber with blue painter's tape, because daily, temporary, undeniable is a tactic. X. The floodlight. On a Thursday, with a sky the color of a bruise that had decided not to heal yet, the courthouse steps filled at 7:10 with women holding keys and men holding their tongues and teenagers holding signs they'd lettered too close to midnight. Ruth brought a broken megaphone and a working voice. Walter stood near the back with his hat in his hands. The bell in the tower did not ring. The switchboard did. "Operator?" the first voice said, and Vera held the receiver to the mic. "I was told the bus didn't stop there." "Operator?" the second voice said. "My boy hiccups when he sleeps." "Operator?" the third voice said. "I stamped the card. I'm sorry." The crowd went quiet. Keys shook. Pike appeared at the doorway like a weathered statue that had learned to walk. He lifted his hands as if to bless or hush. The crowd did not move. The register Vera carried the night register drawer up the stairs and set it on the dais where people usually put ribbon cuttings. She pulled the card from October 12, 1989, and read the blank aloud. Time in 9:07, time out nothing. Then she said the girl's name, the one she had written down when the girl asked if she was allowed, and the sound the crowd made was not applause. It was relief in the grammar of grief. A man in a charcoal suit, one of Pike's friends who wore policy like cologne, stepped forward to remove the card. Ruth moved faster, hand flat, teacher stance, the one that stops a fight before it starts. "No," she said, and the no held a county. After 7, they did not fix the courthouse that night. They did not unmake what had been made. Nolan did not resign. Walter did not become a hero. The elevator remained fussy, but the red maps went online with a note that said, "This is what happened." The night register scans appeared on a website someone's nephew made, ugly and unstoppable. The calls kept coming, On the board and in Vera's apartment in Towanda after her contract ended, at 7:03 and 11:14, and sometimes at the honest hour of 3:17, when you can only tell the truth or sleep. When the county archived the basement, they wrote a new sign in the steady hand of the clerk who knew better now. Night Register, GUV, Public Hours, 9-5. Beneath, someone else, maybe Ruth, maybe the building had penciled, "After 7, we hold the line." Vera took a job in Carlisle writing grants for a food coop. She taped a photocopy of the October card above her desk. At 7:12 sometimes, the linen closet rang. She opened the door and there was no phone, just a shelf and the smell of old paper remembering rain. "Operator?" a voice would say, and Vera, who was not an operator but had learned the weight of listening, would answer, "I'm here. Say your name. I'll write it down."